Hi, I'm Benton Calder. I'm here at Metabridge 2015 in beautiful Kelowna, British Columbia, and I'm pleased to be talking to Mike McCauley here, who is the product manager at Google. Mike, how you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, no problem. So before Google, I want to talk about your company that you started called BufferBox. And so in a couple sentences, do you want to tell our audience what BufferBox is?
Yeah, absolutely. So we basically allowed people to buy products online and have them shipped to a physical location. And we put those kiosks into 7-Elevens, convenience stores, coffee shops, grocery stores, transit hubs, so that when they had packages delivered and they weren't home, they wouldn't have to have that failed delivery notice on their door. So they get an email saying, "Hey Ben, your package is ready for pickup. Here's your code." And then you could walk up to the 7-Eleven and enter your code and pick up your package whenever it was ready for you.
Sweet. So when did you start BufferBox?
We actually started the project when we were still in undergrad, so it would have been back in 2011. And we turned it into a full-time company in the summer of 2011, right after we graduated, and then worked on it full-time at that point.
Awesome. And you were going to school at University of Waterloo in Ontario?
Yep.
Awesome.
The three of us co-founders went to University of Waterloo for mechatronics engineering. So we all met, and the project started as our final year design project when we were in that last year. And just so happened that we were able to turn it into a company afterwards, and we're pretty happy with how things turned out.
That's awesome. So, and you ran the company for just a year and a half almost before you were bought by Google. What was that process like?
Yeah, I mean, when we first started, never would have imagined that would have been the outcome. And, we were really passionate about solving the problem of failed deliveries. It was something that we hated experiencing, and everyone that we talked to wanted to see a solution as well. And so we knew that there was something there on the consumer side. And then on the shipping carrier side, it was like additional cost for them when they had to redeliver that package or host a location for you to come and pick it up and have staffed members there. And so we kind of looked at both of those sides and said, there's got to be something here. And so we just kind of went about trying to figure out what solutions made sense for the problem, and started very small, had our first pilot at the University of Waterloo, and really catered to students. So they were the ones that were first using the product. And we got a lot of traction there early on, and that allowed us to kind of expand into Toronto and launch a network in Toronto with Go Transit. And that allowed us to kind of get from that early stage to the next step, which then continued to open doors along the way. And about a year after we started, we moved the company down to Silicon Valley for the summer for Y Combinator. And that was when a lot of things really started to happen. We signed a deal with 7-Eleven and started working with Walmart, signed a deal with Sobeys grocery store chain in Canada. And things just really kind of started to piece together. And along that process, we got introduced to Google. They were working on a project at the time that hadn't been announced yet. It later got announced as Google Shopping Express. And they were really interested in working together with us because their customers could see a lot of value in a locker network. And so we started working with them. We're talking about a partnership deal. They had bought a couple buffer boxes to kind of test out the technology. And fast forward a couple months from there, we were looking at raising a larger round of funding. And Google kind of found out about it, and then they kind of started to talk to us a little bit more about working more closely together, and eventually that turned into the acquisition. So that was back in November of 2012.
So what has it been like working at Google?
Google's an amazing place. It's very unique. They do so many different things. They do some really amazing products, and it's neat to be able to have the impact that you can have at a place that serves so many different users. And so you work on a project like Gmail that has hundreds of millions of users. It's really neat to be able to just come and have that scale. And so for us, it was really a neat opportunity to come into a big organization, work with a new team building Google Shopping Express, and just be able to kind of see how they solve problems, how they look at scaling something, and how they look at creating a great user experience. And so there were some awesome things there, and we were able to also leverage their great relationships with some of the really big partners that we ultimately wanted to work with. If you think about all the big major online retailers, they have great relationships with Google because they buy ads on Google. And so when you have the ability to reach out to them and make a direct connection and start talking about what you can do together, it can be really powerful. And so that was a really big eye-opener for us. And even beyond Google Shopping, they just do so many different things. More recently, I've had the opportunity to work on Project Fi, which is the wireless carrier that Google just announced a couple months ago, and just another tremendous, big, audacious goal that they're building. And when you have a company with that that kind of tool house of resources, they can do those big bets. And so that's been really inspiring to be a part of that.
That's awesome, man. Thank you again for coming on. Last question. I just wanted to hear you talk about your philanthropic work. I understand you're on a board in Waterloo. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's so important to give back. So I do. I sit on the Food Bank of Waterloo Region board. I actually got involved with that organization when I was still in university, and they had a program where you could temporarily be a part of a board. And when that program ended, they asked if I wanted to become a full-time member, and so I've been a part of that ever since. But I think it goes along with the storyline of always giving back, and so I spent a lot of time helping other startups who were in. I was in their shoes at one point, and now I kind of have the ability to help them wherever I can, and I think that's really important because a lot of people helped us when we were there, and so it's important to have that full circle.
That's awesome. Thanks again for coming on, Mike. That's Mike McCauley. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Ben.